We've been reporting on the more than $1 trillion infrastructure bill signed by President Biden. The president told a tribal nation summit at the White House just yesterday that $13 billion with a B from that bill would go to Native American communities, including measures to fight climate change. One tribe desperately in need of that help lives on Washington State's Olympic Peninsula. Their only village next to the Pacific Ocean was inundated by historic flooding yesterday. Ben Tracy recently visited that area and learned how climate change is forcing residents to make some heartbreaking choices.
We've had these lands. It's home to us. They built this wall.
Ann Penn Charles has lived on the same street for her entire life.
So this piece of land has been in your family for a while?
Yes, 2 generations. It's where our family grew up, all along the roads here.
But just across the way, she has an increasingly unfriendly neighbor. The Pacific Ocean rising because of climate change. On Monday, the town experienced some of its worst flooding ever, swamping the main street and forcing Ann to evacuate her home. Flooding like this is now becoming all too common.
How concerned are you about what might happen to this village, to your home?
I'm pretty concerned. That water, when it rises, it's just right over there, It's scary, I see it.
Ann is a member of the Quileute Nation in La Push, Washington, home to about 400 people. The tribe once called vast swaths of the Olympic Peninsula home, but in 1855 it was stripped of most of its land. Decades later, President Grover Cleveland issued an executive order confining the Quileute to just over 1 square mile of land right up against the ocean, most of it prone to flooding. And now climate change is forcing the Quileute to move again.
That's the toughest thing. We don't want to give up our land.
At the tribal school down the street, Ann volunteers in the craft class. Students here are already used to dealing with the threat of a tsunami caused by an earthquake. They regularly practice evacuating and fleeing to higher ground on their school buses. Now the tribe is building an entirely new school on top of the hill, far away from those rising ocean waters. And while it will be bigger and better than the current school, some students can't imagine not seeing the very water now forcing them to flee.
It's sad and it's going to be really different. This is where a lot of us grew up. It means a lot to us.
Native tribes from Alaska to the Southwest to Florida are facing severe climate impacts, in large part because they were relocated onto some of the country's least desirable land. The infrastructure bill just signed by President Biden includes $216 million for climate resilience and adaptation for tribal nations, including some funds for relocation.
Our main focus is definitely the kids and the elders.
Tony Foster is a member of the tribal council. While government grants are paying for most of the new school construction, he isn't sure if they will get funding for the rest of the tribe to move and build new homes on land near the school.
So it's not as simple as saying it's time to move to higher ground.
No, it's really difficult for all of us to say we have to leave our home because of the climate.
I'll pick up the kids later.
Ann Penn Charles fears that day will come.
I'm not going to move unless Mother Nature makes me move.
But to honor her ancestors, she says she'll hold out as long as she can.
We signed over so much land to stay here. It'd be tough to give up our land down here. It'd be like taking our heartbeat and giving it a zap. And we'd be leaving our heart here within our areas that we all grew up in.
Land this tribe never chose, but a home they may now have to leave behind. For CBS Mornings, Ben Tracy on the Olympic Peninsula.
Just unbelievably beautiful landscape there, and if the projections are true, it's not the first story we're going to do about people giving up coastal property because of climate change.
It's very personal, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Taking our heartbeat and giving it a zap.
Right about that.